Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and wishing a very good day to my very respected lecturer. Today I, Zakif Shauki bin Muhammad Agus, with the number matrix of A163826, will be presenting a case of defamation. The case that I have chosen is of Liu Pun Siak and Loh Hing King and others. This case was heard in the High Court of Kuala Lumpur by the Honorable Judge Badia Yusof. Moving on to the facts of the case, the first defendant and a few others had held a meeting conference titled "The Turbulence of the Special General Meeting of Confucius School accused of making use of Old Boys Association name to create trouble. Loh Hing King condemns the saboteurs." This was published in the China Press newspaper. The plaintiff at the material time was the chairman of the Confucian School Old Boys Association. The plaintiff claimed that there were 3 paragraphs in the said publication which were defamatory to him in the following manner, which is, in the first paragraph, the first defendant had stated that there was a turbulence at the Confucian Private Secondary School which was caused by a small group of decadents and saboteurs, which referred to the plaintiff as one of them. In the second paragraph, the first defendant had stated that the plaintiff was in collusion with each other and made no contribution to the development of the school and had brought disgrace to the association. And in the third paragraph, the first defendant had stated that the plaintiff had misappropriated the school building fund donated by the association by assigning 10 members and non-members to be the permanent sponsor. By the said publication, the plaintiff averred that he had been portrayed as irresponsible, untrustworthy, and dishonest person. Hence, the plaintiff claimed damages for defamation. The plaintiff claims against the second, third, and fourth defendant has been withdrawn, and this particular case against the first defendant is heard only on the issue of liability. The damages will be assessed by the Timbalan Pendaftar later on. The Honorable Judge Badia Yusof in this case held allowing the plaintiff's claim with cause. It is because the 3 elements needed to establish a case of defamation have been fulfilled against the defendant. The 3 elements are: the words refers to the plaintiff, are the word complained of defamatory, and is the defendant responsible for the publication. Firstly, do the words refers to the plaintiff? It is for the plaintiff to establish objectively that he was the person referred to by the words used in the publication. This test is an objective test in which an ordinary reader must be fair-minded and not avid for scandal. He must not be unduly suspicious and must have rational ground for his belief that the word refer to the plaintiff. It is beyond any shadow of doubt that the article published in the China Press newspaper on 18 April 2022 refers specifically to the plaintiff. It refers to the plaintiff by his name as well as the plaintiff's position as the chairman of the Old Boys Association. Second element are the word complaints of defamatory. The word complained of in the said paragraph must be understood to mean in their natural and ordinary meaning, a meaning in which a reasonable man of ordinary intelligence would be likely to understand them. In this case, the Honorable Judge had referred to the case of Tun Datuk Patinggi Haji Abdul Rahman Yaakob and Bri Sendirian Berhad and others, whereby His Lordship Richard Malanjung had said that the approach in the construction of the word complaint is to consider the meaning of such word would convey to the reasonable person using their general knowledge and common sense. It is not confined to strict literal meaning of the word, but extends to any reference or implication from which a person can reasonably draw. The test to be considered is whether the words would expose the plaintiff to hatred, ridicule, or contempt, and it would tend to lower the plaintiff in the estimation of right-thinking members of society, although generally no one believes it to be true. The typical type of attack of defamation is upon the moral character of the plaintiff, attributing to crime, dishonesty, cruelty, untruthfulness. And the Honorable Judge in this particular case found that the said 3 paragraphs of the publication are defamatory to the plaintiff, as those words tend to lower the plaintiff in the estimation of right-mind thinking member of society and to tend to expose the plaintiff to hatred, contempt, and ridicule. This is because the plaintiff has been referred to as a decadent, a saboteur, a troublemaker, a disgrace, and had misappropriated the school building funds, referring to being corrupt. And thirdly, the element is the defendant responsible for the publication. The defendant contended that he was not responsible for the publication of the said defamatory words. The evidence submitted before this court is overwhelmingly clear that it was the first defendant who initiated and organized the press conference on 16 April 2022. Defendant witness 4, who is a press reporter, testified that the first defendant gave her the script before the start of the meeting. The script that contains the speech of the first defendant in the said press conference. The judge was of the view that the circumstances show that the first defendant is responsible for the publication. This is due to the act of giving the script to the defendant's witness 4 is sufficient to constitute circumstances in which the defendant is responsible for the publication. The defendant also clearly shown that must have the intention to have it published in the newspaper. As the three elements of defamation case have been fulfilled and established against the defendant brought pleaded three defense to this case, which is justification, qualified privilege, and fair comment. Regarding the justification defense, in order to succeed in the defense of justification, the defendant must establish the truth of all material statements in the words complained of. The law presumes that the defamatory words are false. Therefore, the defendant must rebut the presumption by proving the particulars in support of the plea of justification. The first defendant had only attempted to justify the paragraph of the defamatory statement in relation to the words misappropriated the school building fund, but this was then proven in this court that it was not the Plaintiff's Act but the School Board of Governors Act. Therefore, it is completely false. On the words depicting the plaintiff as a saboteur, a decadent, a troublemaker, a disgrace, not a shred of evidence has been produced to support the first defendant plea of justification. In these circumstances, the Honourable Judge finds that the plea of justification has no merit. Secondly, the defense of fair comment. The first defendant pleads that the statement is not defamatory but a fair and honest comment consisting of true facts and inferences from such fact. If the fact upon which the comment purports to be made do not exist, the foundation of the plea fails. The precedent given in the case of Tun Datuk Patinggi Haji Abdul Rahman Yaakob and Brace Sendirian Berhad is the requirements needed for this, which is are the words complained of comment, are the words comment, that the comments are a matter of public interest, and that the comments are based on fact truly stated. The defendant in this case cannot avail himself of any fact as justifying his comment of which he was ignorant at the time he published the words complained of. It is the state of mind of the defendant that is material, where the defendant knew that the publication were to be false, or where the defendant made the publication recklessly, being indifferent to the truth of what he published and neither considering nor caring whether it was true or not, whether the publication are false. Neither will the defendant succeed where the statement was not honestly made or where there is malice. The judge found that it is proven that the defamatory statement were made with malice or inferences of malice on the part of the first defendant, driven with the intent of displacing the plaintiff from the position of chairman of the Old Boys Association. The motive for publication of the defamatory statement was a prelude to the removal of the plaintiff as chairman, and also an attempt to smear the plaintiff's name. The words against the plaintiff are far from being a fair comment honestly made on public interest. It is in the judge's view that there is no evidence to support this plea of fair comment. Therefore, it is not available to the defendant. Thirdly, qualified privilege. A qualified privilege is an occasion where the person who makes the communication has an interest or a duty, legal, social, or moral, to make it to the person to whom it is made, and the person to whom it is made has the corresponding interest or duty to receive it. The reciprocity is essential. It is clearly shown that the first defendant contends that the occasion on which the statement made were without malice of qualified privilege. Being a member of the Old Boys Association, the defendant said that he has the duty to make the statement, and the member of the association has a reciprocal interest to receive them. It is tried that the publication must be made without malice and with honest motive. But the judge found that it was not honestly made for the common convenience or welfare of the association. It was made to attack the plaintiff and urging members of the association to condemn the plaintiff. Under the circumstances, the judge do not think that the first defendant can avail himself to the defense of qualified privilege. For the reasons stated above on the issue of liability, the judge ruled that the first defendant is to be liable and as to the damage also. The judge made an order to the Timbalan Pendaftar to assess the damages and also awarded an interest of 8% per annum to be awarded for the damages from the date of the judgment until the full realization and cost to the plaintiff. And that is all of the case of Liu Pun Siak and Loh Hin King and others. And that is all from me. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum.